Hmm. Let me tweet this thing real quick. Okay. Where'd the chat go? It's over here. Hello. Hello, everybody. I need to hear myself. So I know I'm talking. One sec. Hello. It is, yeah, sure, we're going to do... I had so much fun last time that I thought, hey, let's do it again. Let's do this again. You guys asked some good questions, and I felt like I could be informative. So I thought, hey, I got a good amount of work done today. Today was Repentance Day, so I had meetings with Vin and the crew. I had a little mini meet with Crystal, who's on cutscene duty. We had the cutscene done early, and then we changed some things in game that needed to match the cutscene, so we were able to do that. Edmund, are you an immigrant? An immigrant? Am I an immigrant? No, I'm an American. Motherfucker. From America. My grandma, on the other hand, wasn't. And when people would ask her, where do you come from? She'd say, I come from America! And she refused to speak Spanish. Hey, it's Crystal. So my grandma came from Mexico. My dad's side of the family came from Ireland. And, but my grandma came here during the Depression. So the worst thing you could be during the Depression is Mexican. Because they were just deporting people to make sure that people, Americans would be able to survive. So there was a major stigma on that. So even though she spoke very fluent Spanish and she obviously looked Hispanic, she totally, people would speak Spanish to her, and she would, if anybody else was around other than me, if it was just me and her, we would go, we lived in Watsonville, which is a very Mexican area. And when we go shopping, my grandma would just order in Spanish, and I'd ask her what she was speaking, and she would lie and say it was Italian because that was considered okay. That was tolerable. And she would never go outside so she wouldn't, she would always cover her face and stuff so she'd never get dark, because I can get really dark. And she would actually put on a lot of white makeup if she ever got tan, so she would look more white. So it was a whole interesting situation. There was a lot of weird stuff that I didn't understand growing up, where I guess just a stigma of being Hispanic that has been passed down to my mom, but not so much me. I don't think it fucking matters at all. My mom, on the other hand, if you bring up the fact that we did 23andMe, and I'm 25% Hispanic, and technically, it's technically half of that is Native American, Mexican, and then the other half of the 25% is Spanish, which is what my grandmother was. So my mom's half. And if you bring that up to her, she'll say, I don't know about that. And I'm like, oh, what's the issue? If your Mexican mom's not a big deal. She's like, that's beautiful. It's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, all my grandmother wanted. I think she had a teacher tell her when she was quite young that the first thing you need to do is get rid of that name, which was Rodriguez, and that's what she did when she was quite young. She got married to my grandpa, who was a good guy. Okay. I'm gonna answer your questions. I'm gonna avoid like item questions. I'll just tell you right now, right off the bat. If you're asking me specific questions about my favorite items and XYZ and item combinations and anything just general Isaac stuff that I've answered a million times, I'm probably just going to not answer it. If it's more along the lines of like, I see one here like, how do you deal with procrastination? That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to talk about. I've answered what does it matter what I think about the game that I made? I made the fucking game. Like, what I think is what you're playing. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, I'm going to look through this. I'm going to skim around. What's on the back next to the Meat Boy frame? Let me look at my screen here. Anatomy figure? It's just an anatomy figure. It's just I always like those things. I have a few. I have a few heads and hearts and just replicas of different things so you can see the guts inside stuff. I always like that stuff, so I have a few of those things around. Here. That's a trophy. That is a time fuck trophy. Tyler, I think, received that one for me because I wasn't going anywhere. I was an award and I got some other awards back in here. A few awards that I won back in my heyday, as you could say. Hey. And then there's this. So the reason why this room is like total fucking chaos is because a few months ago we purchased a new house and we were slowly moving stuff into it. And we ran into some issues with remodeling that slowed stuff down. And as you can imagine now, it's basically put on hold. So we like hastily moved a bunch of stuff just to get it out of the way so we could move bigger stuff before the baby comes, which is in 4 months. And that's not going to happen at all. So it's just fucking chaos. So you got this is Danielle's area here, which is like a bunch of sewing stuff and an endless amount of fabric on the ground. And then you've got what remains in the bookshelves and in the cabinets here. And then over here you've got random things. They're just random. But my like office setup is still here, so I can still work. Okay, here we go. I'll answer the procrastination one. I'm sorry if I'm missing some shit. I apologize. Just ask it again. If I don't answer it, I have no issue with you asking it again as long as you're not spamming. Procrastination. I don't usually have a problem with procrastination. Right now it's an issue. Not so much procrastination, but I think it has to do with the fact that I don't have much time to work, and then when I do, I have so much stuff that I could be bouncing around to, and so much stuff that I want to work on. It's hard to find enough time to do what I want to do. But whenever I'm feeling like I'm procrastinating, like I'm putting stuff off and I'm doing other things instead, I will literally just sit myself down, put on music, and force myself to work. That's the only answer. If you're procrastinating, put on your big boy or big girl pants and just grow up and you fucking do it. That's the only way, is you just do it. There's different ways to strategize on how to do it. Like I said, for me, I put on music. And for whatever it stops something in my brain. It adds chaos, and then I can just streamline and I can just go. It also boosts creativity for me. Like Vin, on the other hand, he likes to stream to the team. So he feels like more eyes are on him, and he's figured that helps him with procrastination. You got to figure out what works for you, and focus on that. And in the end, just don't make a fucking excuse for yourself. It's just like a diet, really. Like, if you want to lose weight, you just don't eat shit. If you want to be productive, you just work, and that's it. And it's a tough reality, but that is the reality. You just do it. And in my case, there's been many times where I didn't want to work on something. There's been many times in development where I'll hit this lull of like, this is work now. This isn't fun anymore. I'm not designing cool things. Like, this is just busy work. This is just an endless amount of animation, et cetera, et cetera. I just do it. You just know you have to do it, and you get through and you push through. But if you can find your good reward center, or the thing that distracts you or pushes you through the procrastination, focus on that. If not, you just fucking do it. But yeah. Why is The Witness getting its name changed? Because it doesn't work with what I wrote. A lot of stuff in Anti-Birth really works really well, which is one of the reasons why we're doing it. Vin and everybody else did it such a superb job. I mean, really, like, Vin's vision of things is so... The attention to understanding what I would do and wouldn't do is so great, that when I went through and I said, okay, these are the things that I want to change, like, I'm pretty sure before I could even put the list down, he already knew the things that I was going to change, and agreed that those things were kind of walking the line of what should and shouldn't be in the game. They're all really subtle little things too, and a lot of the time too, I kind of just like something like the Rainmaker doesn't really fit the vibe of something that I would do, but it's cute, and I could kind of see myself moving that direction. It's dramatic and goofy, but I'll let that slide. But something like The Witness, it's like, when rewriting what they had kind of roughly put out there, I needed to make sense of what was there and why. And changing The Witness's name to something else was important in order to make my vision work, and you'll totally understand why when you finish the game. It ties everything together, and that's why I did it. Okay. Okay, I'm going through this stuff. Am I safe in my home with my family? Yes. So here's an interesting tidbit, and I don't really want to talk about the virus because everybody's already been full of it for forever, so no one needs to hear more of it. But a week before people started talking about the lockdown, we had already pulled Peach out of school because Danielle was sick, and she was sick with the flu, or what we assume was the flu. And then a week after that, I got sick. It was gnarly. And that's one of the reasons why I postponed Tapeworm. So I've only been to the grocery store about 3 times since this all started. And now, since we had a babysitter that was part-time, and of course she doesn't have work now with anybody, so we asked if she could just get her groceries for us, and then we'd pay her what she would be getting paid for babysitting, and that's essentially what we did. So we've been having her pick up all of our groceries to be extra careful, because Danielle is pregnant, and it would be really gnarly if she got it, unless she already did. And that's the question that's happening right now, because in California, a lot of people are hypothesizing, you know the word I'm trying to say, theorizing, I'll use that. The theory is that one of the reasons why California's curve is so low might have been that we had it earlier than everybody else. And there is a possibility that we had it already. We can go get a test and see if we did. I might eventually do that, but for right now, I'm just going to play it as if we are sick and we're not going anywhere. Or we don't want to get sick, so we're not going anywhere. So we've been locked up tight. We have enough supplies to last us for at least a month. Luckily, there's a lot of cool things that kind of happened. A few months ago, Danielle accidentally ordered a bunch of hand wipes, and she thought what she was buying was like a little box of them, but it turned out it was like a box of a shitload, and this was last year. So we just had it kind of sitting next to the car. So we had a bunch of like disinfectant wipes and stuff sitting around. I recently bought a freezer because our refrigerator is a little small, and it was like during Thanksgiving and stuff, we already always had overflow, and we had no place to put it. So I just like, I'll just get a little freezer. So we happen to have a little stuff that kind of prepped us for staying in. And so far, the only difficult part is that Peach, even though she says she really loves being with us always, and if she had it her way, she would never go to school again. You could tell that this whole thing is affecting her because she's having little breakdowns constantly about nothing. But that could just be that she's 4.5. So we are safe. What is my art style based on? My art style is based on a lot of the stuff that I grew up with. We'll see if I could even draw one. So I grew up with Ninja Turtles. This is a Ninja Turtle here. Look, this is going to be so good. I remember how to draw them. They draw it like this. Ninja Turtles. And Ren and Stimpy. This is Ren. And Garbage Pail Kids. I can't draw a Garbage Pail Kid. There it is. There's a Garbage Pail Kid. And the Max. Those are like the key influences, the things that I pulled from the most when it came to drawing. But everything changed when I started working in Flash, and I started to love just how things looked in Flash, and that kind of became my style. If you look it up on Facebook, you can. One sec, he's sitting on a beanbag, and he got shot in the head. Oh no! I really liked the line art stuff, and I liked how simplistic the coloring was. Like a lot of my coloring looks a lot like this. I'll just go like, oh, where's this? There it is. And then I'll just draw over the top. Oh. It just kind of became my style. And I kind of went with it and adapted from there on out, and just kind of became my thing. I would say Pokemon also had a big influence as well. And I have to draw Pikachu. What is it? Why does this look wrong? I was really into Pokemon when it came out. Pokemon Blue. I was really big into collecting muscle men and stuff like that when I was younger. I really like the idea of like lots of little monsters of different types, which you can see in my work. And Pokemon definitely scratched that itch. A bunch of cool, weird character design. There's that. Okay. Can I animate something for you? I'm not the best fucking animator in the world, dude. So no, I'm not going to. Okay, I'll animate this. Here we go. We're going to animate a ball. Okay, here's this ball. And this ball is falling. Oh, it's really falling real fast now. Oh, it's about to hit. It's about to hit the ground. Kaboom! Right? And then whoop. And whoop. And goes up to here. And then it collects itself. Crystal, don't reveal any secrets on here. Well, I'll see what you're talking about in a sec. And it bunches up, and it comes out. No, it comes out again like this, and a little bit like this, and then it's a circle, and then it starts to fall, and it drops. Okay, so what we got is this. Boing. Look at that. It's fucking animation, motherfuckers. This is what it's called. I'm an animator. I figured it out. There you go. So, that's animation. That's how you animate things. My real trick, though, is this. I will do something... I'll do something like this. I will draw... There's Pikachu. Look, here's Pikachu. Pikachu's looking at you. Ooh, Pikachu says. And then, I'll turn that into a symbol. And then, I'm going to draw Pikachu. Let's see. Pikachu's now turned away. There's the butt. That's how you know. But how do we get there is what you're asking. How do we get... This looks terrible. This looks awful. What we do. This is my claim to fame. I'm teaching you all the secrets. This is my masterclass. This is my YouTube masterclass. It's this little thing called my wiggle transition. I'm going to squish this one down. And then I'm going to pop this one up. And then I'm going to wiggle it a little bit. He's fat, so it's appropriate. And we'll give it one more wiggle. And you got it. Watch this. Voomp. Voomp. That's all I do. Draw a few pictures. You don't have to do all the dumb in-betweens. I'm never going to be a frame-by-frame animator. I am a wiggler. And if I really want to like spice it up, I can like smooth it out by not motion tween. Classic tweening it, which will look a little strange right now. Boop. And it smooths it out. And you've got like a 60 frame per second flip around, and you can do that. That's what I do for a majority of the drastic changes, because I'm not going to... Sometimes I'll do a transition. Sometimes I'll do an in-between if it's a slow one. But for the most part, that's how I do it. There's your masterclass. Okay. I know you guys have probably asked a shit more questions. So I'm going to then jump to the bottom. Jumping down to the bottom. Okay. Okay. Should I feel bad for being an immigrant and working class? Should you feel bad for being... Why would you feel bad for any of that? You shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't feel bad for anything that's out of your control, for sure. I never felt bad. I mean, it was frustrating growing up poor, but it doesn't. It's what you want to do with it. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you're poor, if you're working class or below working class, it just means having to work a little harder than other people. But guess what? When you work harder than other people who have it easier, that don't put in the extra work, you end up better than those people because it's just like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You're going to be working out much harder than those people, and therefore, in the end, you will be stronger. You look at somebody like any musician, Michael Jackson or anybody. Those people always had really fucked up childhoods. A lot of people that have been through terrible things that make it through and persevere end up stronger and find other ways of healing themselves, and it can be a terrible blessing in disguise, I guess you could say. Yeah. Okay. This is hard to pick and choose. 90s games had amazing atmospheres. Diablo, Sonic, Civilization, Half-Life, etc. An extreme earnestness to them. Do you think that's missing from modern games, and why? Yes, of course it is. And the reason why is because, much like movies, big games have become so formulaic. Basically, it's like you look at the latest Doom as the best example. I know a lot of people like that game a lot. I'm not a huge fan of that game, and I really like the last one. What happened? What changed? They seem to have the perfect formula. How could it get screwed up? And for me, it got screwed up because they were basically looking and being like, how much more stuff can we add to this that people like, that makes it so they feel like they're doing more, they're collecting more, they're upgrading more, and then they have more replayability because, you know, now they want to play through with this build and all this other stuff too. And when you kind of do that, when you kind of look to other games or benchmarks set by the industry, you end up making the same game that everybody else has already made. And I think that that's happening a lot. And that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why when it comes to indie games, you don't see that as much, and you see a lot of like personality and just uniqueness to it, because indies have the ability to take a risk. You know, a large company like Bethesda, if they fuck it up, they fuck it up big. Like, they really flub it. So they're going to play it as safe as possible, and they're not going to take any huge risks. And that's basically it. You know, back in the 90s, you could churn out a game for not that much money. You didn't have to have a huge fucking team. You know, back in the Super Nintendo era, there were people who were literally like just cloning existing titles and just doing shit, like churning out shit games, much like, you know, the VHS boom in the 80s. There was a lot of money being poured into it because a lot of people were buying these games and people were able to do it cheap. And nowadays the bigger companies, they can't do it cheap. You know, it kind of blows my mind to this day that anybody would hire a famous person to do voice work. Like, that's going to sell the fucking game. That's really expensive. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, never. I don't see any person in the world who's like, I really want to play this game because this person from a movie is doing a voice for it. I just don't get it. I mean, I personally don't get it when it comes to even movies where somebody, like animated movies where somebody's doing the voice of somebody. I could see if it's like a musician. Like, speaking of which, Danielle and Peach are watching Trolls, the new Trolls 2 downstairs. Now, I could understand hiring professional musicians or professional like singers to do voices as well as sing, because you need that. But it just doesn't make any sense to me why there's professional voice people. You hire those people. They have more skill than the average actor who's doing a voice. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't understand. But I'm sure they've crunched some numbers, and I'm sure it means sales in some way, shape, or form, and it makes up for the difference. Or it's just somebody who's finally gotten into power who really wants to meet Samuel L. Jackson, so they want to hire him on. Yeah, I couldn't say I wouldn't do the same thing if I was just a random person at a company who's like, well, we need to hire somebody to do voiceover and we have $1 million. Might as well hire this guy that I've always wanted to meet so I can buddy up with him and he can hang out at the office when he visits. Maybe that's it. But yes. Favorite Godzilla monster. You know, I've tried to get into Godzilla, and I could never really get into Godzilla. So I don't think I'm informed enough to say what my favorite Godzilla monster is. Godzilla? I've seen that little baby one that can talk. Maybe that one's my favorite one. When can we expect the new Four Souls expansion to release? I don't know. We have to do Tapeworm first, that's for sure. And then once the dust settles on that, like, we don't want to do back-to-back Kickstarters. So there's a few things. Repentance has to be out in order to do the expansion because there's lots of Repentance nods, and I don't want to release it before that. So it's got to be after that. And it's probably got to be at least a month or two after that release, because I don't want to release something and then release another thing right and just overwhelm people. So that might give you some idea of it. A few months after Repentance, but not so close to Tapeworm. Like at least 6 months from Tapeworm. So I'm assuming end of year, hopefully. How do I feel about meme culture? I mean, I think it's funny, honestly. I mean, memes are a fun and creative way for people to mock how stupid everything is. And things are really stupid. So why not, right? I think they're appropriate. I mean, I think they're the new, very quick comic books. You know, there's always the garbage ones that are just in jokes that, you know, dive into themselves forever and they just become stupid. But I don't know. There's a lot going on there, and I think it's pretty neat. I think it's neat to have this creative collective of people who are kind of on the same page about just not taking things too seriously and making jokes. I mean, we got to have a sense of humor to keep going, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with meme culture. I don't know if is that a controversial thing to be for. I'm all for people making jokes and goofing off and being stupid and saying and doing stupid things. What am I drinking? Well, this was water, and then I put a little spoonful of peach iced tea, Lipton peach iced tea in here. I've only been drinking water for like 2 weeks, and I usually drink Zevia, Dr. Zevia. So I've had no soda, no caffeine for a while, and no flavored beverages at all. So this is a treat. It is a treat. Did I learn to do art mostly by school, or someone teaching me, or book tutorials, or did I just draw a lot? Okay, I would say it's a combination of all of that stuff, for sure. When I was quite young, it's like 4, people started complimenting me on my ability to draw in color. And it could have been as simple as that, where there was a reward center that was being fed early on where somebody said I was good at this. And because I was good at this and I really liked that people said I was good at this, I continued to draw. And I just referenced lots of stuff. I drew, like I showed before, I drew a lot of Ninja Turtles. I drew a lot of Garbage Pail Kids type weird stuff. I was really into Mad Magazine and comics. Really, at a really early age, I was really into Mad Magazine. And I just tried to emulate the creative people that I seem to admire when I was young. So I drew a lot, and I never got that great. And still to this day, I'm really not a great illustrator in the slightest. There are millions of people that are much better than me, but I'm creative, and that's the one advantage that I have over a lot of other people. Is I really enjoy coming up with weird concepts, and at this point, a majority of people can execute those things much better than I can. I still like drawing, but sadly, I only draw to make games nowadays. Okay. I've scrolled down very far. I'll scroll up a little bit. Have I ever witnessed an accident? I've witnessed lots of... I don't really want to talk about bad stuff on here. Yes, I've witnessed accidents. I've seen very terrible things. Very terrible things. Okay. What happened to Hitler's Must Die? The Hitler's Must Die game that you were making for the indie game album thing. So, Alex, the programmer for Gish, me and him made Gish, and Blastminer, we worked on, it was going to be, the concept was an album of games, a bunch of small games that we were going to put out that were all kind of a different flavor that fit into the same package. And we were going to kind of take turns designing on these things. And one of my designs was Hitler's Must Die, which was a physics-based 2D shooter, which was awesome. It never got finished because things kind of got rough at one point, and we parted ways, and it's just been hanging there. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with Hitler's Must Die. I've got a lot on my plate right now either way, so who the fuck knows. I would love to. The concept was really cool. I really liked the visual design, and I liked the characters a great deal. It probably, if I remade it, it wouldn't be physics based. It would be more straightforward and probably have a Spelunky-ish randomized aspect to it. But I believe that Alex released most of his designs in a Cryptic Sea album kind of EP. I think he called it an EP, the Cryptic Sea EP, if you want to check that stuff out. Okay, I answered the Four Souls one. What was my first video game ever, and what was my impression about gaming as a whole back then? You mean the first game I ever played or ever made? I'll just try to answer both. First game I ever played was a handheld football game when I was probably 2 or 3, of my dad's, and you just move a light around and avoid the other lights, and I thought it was neat. I had an Atari at a pretty young age. I was always a few years late, though, than the other kids. I didn't get a Nintendo until I was like 10, and everybody else had them when they were like 7 or 8. I thought video games were super cool. I didn't really get super into video games until Nintendo, and then I was way deep to the point of like breaking into my friend's house to play Mario 2 because I didn't have an NES. And then once I got an NES, we had a block full of kids. The whole block was full of kids, and I would borrow everybody's games and just play them. And then eventually you could rent them. And so I thought it was super awesome. When it came to making a game, the first game that I ever made was probably a click and play game that I made in high school when I was like 15 or 16. And it was called Build the Lower Intestine, and it's gone now. But my impression of gaming back then, my impression of game design in general, like I remember thinking that there was no way I could ever make a living off of being a game designer because no one would ever listen to my ideas, so there's no point in becoming a part of a company because I didn't want to be a cog in a machine, and I also didn't have anything to show for when it came to, like I couldn't be like, no, I'm really good and I have ideas, I swear, look, I used to draw dead babies and a talking dick. Like, I had nothing, so it didn't seem like that was something that was possible in the slightest. So I didn't do it. I don't even know if I answered your question, but there's that. Okay. What's the hardest part of the original Flash version of Isaac? Um, there there were a few difficulties when it came to the Flash version of Isaac for me. The first one was worrying that I was pushing it too far, which seems strange now because everybody accepts it and they don't really look at it for what it is. But I was kind of being a bit hardcore about questioning organized religion, Christianity in general, and I was making a game about child abuse, and the main character was nude and being abused, and like there were just so many things that on paper seemed like it would be very upsetting and could be really risky. But that's what really kind of pushed me in the direction. Like I felt like I was doing something that no one else was doing, and it's something that only I could do, and it felt risky in a fun way, especially after doing something safe like Super Meat Boy. I had enough money to take a risk, so I was going to. And that was one of the hardest things. Like even Danielle was worried that somehow I was going to upset the Christian right and they were going to hurt me or something, you know. There was a lot of weird things that we talked about back then that seemed like, you know, maybe I was taking it too far, but yeah, whenever I question myself about that, I usually push forward and I usually up the ante. And outside of that, it was just trying to figure out how I was going to sell it and if I was going to sell it. I didn't know how it would be marketable. I didn't know how it would be received. I didn't think Steam would want it for sure because it was Flash. And at that point in time, most sponsorships had died off. So I was considering just selling it to whoever. And Adult Swim was buying IPs, so I considered that as well. And that was difficult. Those were probably the two most difficult things. Have I played any Hearthstone? No, I play Magic. I play the real game. No, I mean, from what I've heard from other, Magic players and friends of mine, Hearthstone is just easy mode, digital Magic. It does a few things differently in the digital realm, but nothing is. I mean, you're going to have a hard time beating Magic, that's for sure. And I have no room for another Magic. Did I play the new Half-Life? No, I don't have any VR stuff. Tyler does, and he said that once this is over, I can come over and play it, and I will. Which famous people do you want to meet? I always wanted to meet John Kay, creator of Ren and Stimpy, and I did. I met him online, and it was a weird experience. I talked to him on and off for a while. I told him I was a huge fan, and then after Gish had come out, I kind of wanted to just show him, like, look, you inspired me, and I made this game, and it's doing really well. And the first thing he said was, "Where's my cut?" But he said it in a way that was not really nice, not really joking. It was like, he's such a fucking disgruntled old man. It was very disappointing. It was that, like, don't meet your heroes kind of situation where I felt like, what? And then I remember him asking me for a job after that. And it was just, the whole thing crumbled. Like, and as most of you probably know, he's not a good guy. But, yeah, that was my number one, and I did meet him, and it was bad. And I got to meet the Melvins. I mostly bands. Like I would like to talk to a bunch of bands that have inspired me over the years, just to talk to them about kind of creative endeavors and how they do what and what inspires them and what they meant when they said this, that sort of stuff. But there's just so many. I don't really know. The first thing that always comes to mind is I kind of like to meet Rob Zombie. But then again, like, I didn't really like his last two movies at all. So I don't want to, I don't know. It's a weird situation. Okay. I scroll down a bit. Okay. Okay, if I missed questions, I'm at the bottom now again. So ask them again if you need me to. Somebody said that I met Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, I did. Dude, I met him a few times. Whenever he comes, we missed him once. He always comes to Santa Cruz because Santa Cruz is a big one for him when they tour. Tommy Wiseau is so funny. Like, he's such an entertaining person. I love him. Like, it makes me love the movie so much more because he's just such a genuinely nice, kind guy, and he is so weird in such a he's an artist who couldn't express himself in a great way. And he's such an alien, and he has such a unique point of view, and I think that really is what made the movie so great. And he's even crazier, and like, you could tell after meeting him that the movie definitely was, they bridled him a bit, and they didn't let him do everything he wanted to do. Someone was definitely checking his shit and saying like, wait, no, this is too crazy, because the guy is so wacky. He's a good guy too. What affected Ren and Stimpy? How Ren and Stimpy was like had the biggest impact that you can imagine. Like, it was probably, Ren and Stimpy was probably the most significant thing in my childhood. I've never had something speak to me so directly. It was doing everything that it was magic. It was magic for me. I loved every minute of it, and I know all the episodes up to when they got bad, up to when John Kane got fired. It meant a lot. It also meant a lot creatively. There's a lot of stuff that they do in Ren and Stimpy that I do a lot of rules of, like, just, you don't have to draw the same character in this universal way, which is one of the reasons why I don't really like anime, because they seem to draw their characters very similar constantly. I know sometimes they'll jump into, like, the chibi looking stuff or a hyper exaggerated face, but everything seems so uniform. Ren and Stimpy was never uniform. There were no rules. There was no, like, design concept to abide by when it came to drawing Ren and Stimpy. They always looked different, and they were always wacky, and I really love that. It was really creative, and I definitely pulled a lot from it. The Witness design has changed a little bit, but you'll see. Top 3 albums? That's so impossible. I'll try. Top 3 albums. Siamese Dream, Nevermind, and OK Computer. But those are kind of cliche. I mean, there's just so many albums that I really love. I'm a really big fan of, like, Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age. I really like Airplane Over the Sea. I don't know. There's too many. Have I ever been approached to work at a AAA studio? There's a story for you. I got a call one day. I believe it was after possibly winning an award for maybe Ether, maybe a little bit before that. But I had some tiny notoriety. It was after Gish for sure. I got a call from EA. They were headhunting essentially, and they asked if I wanted to work for them. And I said, like, no, my, like, goal is to stay independent. Like, I'm trying to avoid it. I always felt like one day eventually I would work for a studio, because I probably, because I wasn't making any money. I didn't make any money for quite a long time. And I thought, yeah, like, eventually I'll go do this. But I remember telling him on the phone, like, my goal is to not have to work for a company, but thanks for the offer. And her reply was, well, when you wanna work with the big boys, you give me a call. And it was like, it sucks. Yeah, and I'll never work for him. And I'll never ever work for him ever. That was that. I also way back in the Gish days too, somebody from PopCap also contacted me asking if I was interested in a job, and I turned them down as well. I was finishing up Gish at that point in time, but we had shown it at GDC, and I think that's why somebody contacted me there. But what's crazy is a friend of mine, George Fan, who made Plants vs. Zombies, had gotten a job there for the same reason the year before that, and they like kind of found him through this game called Insane Aquarium, which won the IGF before us, a few years before us. So I could have been working with George, which would have been pretty cool. But yeah. Are all of your games in the same universe? If the universe is in my head, yes. I'd say for the most part, all of the games that I've made in the past, 15 years, everything after the Badlands series, I would say kind of take place in the same universe, and I've been kind of writing things and tying things together with that. What gave me the idea to make The End Is Nigh? The End Is Nigh is based off of me considering leaving the industry. I had a bunch of really bad experiences within the industry, and just really terrible experiences that made me not want to work with anybody anymore. I wanted to make a game about that, about me questioning if I wanted to continue to work, and also write about the stress of this whole like concept of working with terrible people and betrayal and loss and questioning what's worth what. Peach had just been born, and I was questioning, being a father and where the value system was, like what I should be valuing more if this was the end of my career, etc. And it was kind of like it was my farewell. It was my suicide note to the industry, and just kind of saying goodbye. And I purposely wanted to do something really, really challenging, which was make something that could stand up to Super Meat Boy when it came to a platformer. And I think I did a really good job. I actually am playing through it right now on my Switch. And looking back, I would say that The End Is Nigh is the game that I'm by far the most proud of, and I think is my best work. And I know that not many people share that sentiment, but I strongly believe it. I know it's just way too hard for a majority. I know the vibe is a big downer. But yeah, I think Tyler and I did a really, really good job on that, especially for doing it only like 6.5, 7, 8 months maybe that we worked on it. It went smoothly without a hitch, and we really crammed a lot in there. Do you think I should try and learn several traits: music, art, character design? Yes. Yes. You can. Okay, so it's this. Either you're a programmer. If you're a programmer, you should learn game design. You have to. You need it. It's important. Yeah, you wear as many hats as possible. It's good to know how other people do their job. Like I said, yes, I'm an illustrator, but a lot of the time these days I hire people that are better than me to draw. And it's very important that I still know how to fucking draw, though, because I need to show these people exactly what I want. And I need to have the verbiage to explain what I want, where I want it, and how it looks. You should know a little bit of everything about everything. I don't know much about programming, but I know enough to know what can and can't be done for the most part, depending on the programmer that I'm working with. With Tyler, it's basically whatever. But, I'm not a musician, but I know music really well. So, I'm the guy that talks directly to the musician and gives them feedback and goes back and forth with them on exactly what we're doing. So, yeah, learn as much as you can. Eat it all up. And a lot of it's not going to be as fun because you're not going to like it as much, but it's good to know a little bit here and there. And if you're independent, you need to be able to do multiple things. I mean, for the longest time, outside of music and programming, I did all the other stuff. And there's a lot of other stuff. Uh-oh. You want to be on the video right now? Yeah. Okay. Now come over here.
And I want to watch the new movie with you again.
Do you finish Trolls?
And I want to watch it with you again. I can't get out here now.
Okay. For the rest of this AMA, you're going to ask Peach questions, and she's going to answer them. Are you going to be able to answer people's questions?
Yes.
Okay. They're typing in here, and I'm going to read them. I'm going to read them to you, and then you're going to respond, okay? Somebody says, hi.
Hi.
You don't need to get super close. They can hear you.
Can they talk to me?
Can they talk to you?
Yes.
No, there's so many people in here that they can't talk, we can't hear them, but they're all typing right here. This person wants to know, what's your favorite food?
Carrots on the thing that you like it on, and this is it. Look it up. Honey.
I've never seen you eat a carrot.
I ate a carrot once.
And that's your favorite food?
Carrots with that.
Are you talking about the meat that Mommy makes? What carrot? Are you talking about hummus?
Yes, and carrot.
All right. Okay. What do you like most about me?
Playing with that big ball.
Playing with the big ball?
Oh, guys, this is so funny.
We have one of those big blow up yoga balls that you can sit on, and we've been throwing it at each other. What's your favorite color, Peach?
Blue and purple.
Blue and purple. Hey, Peach, cats or dogs? Which one do you like better?
Oh, little cat. He's a Tammy. Tammy, you're the Tammy me. Tammy, you're the baby monkey.
What's your favorite Isaac character?
The one that just goes, the one that has money eyes.
Money eyes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're a fan of Greed, of the Keeper. You like looking at yourself?
The daddy might.
Peach, do you know who Peach from Super Mario is? Princess Peach? Do you like her?
Yeah. She's right here. She's right here.
Oh, there she is. Hold her up.
Princess Peach.
Peachy, do I export animations?
Ow, it's kind of neat.
Do I export animations to SWF still?
Yes.
Yeah, that is correct. I still do that because Tyler wrote a converter.
And you know what? On the new movie, the Rockstar came to.
Don't spoil it. There's people that haven't seen it, so don't spoil it. Don't say what the ending is because people aren't going to want to hear that. There could be a lot of people in the chat room that want to see the new Trolls movie, but they don't want to know what happens yet. So don't tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey.
What's your favorite Pokemon? Which one?
The purple yellow guy.
Coughing?
Yeah.
Well, that's my favorite Pokemon. Are you happy to be a big sister soon?
Yeah.
How?
Oh, my binky every day.
You want your binky every day?
I want a binky every day with a 5. Every day with a got up.
Are you speaking English?
Yes.
I'm not gonna ask you that question. We just went over no spoilers. Here, I'll move this over here a little closer so you can see. Because you gotta look. This is where the camera is. So when you look over there, then people can see your eyes. Peachy, what are your thoughts on baby plum and repentance?
Baby plum.
She doesn't know what the hell that is. Okay. Can you say bye to everybody so we can go downstairs?
Bye, everybody.
See you guys later. I hope you had a fun time listening to me talk about random things and Peach tell you all this other stuff. Peachy, who's your favorite Russian dictator? Yeah. Peach, is there any game that you'd recommend? What game are you playing? What game do you play a lot of?
Ninja Turtle.
We play Ninja Turtles on the arcade, but the game that you play on the iPad a lot, what is that one? Do you remember what it's called? I don't even know what it's called. It's called like Dog Mutant or something.
I know it, but it just goes.
She plays this game where you take these black and white dogs and you pull them into each other, and then they get bigger, and then you pull two level 2 dogs into each other, and they make a level 3 dog.
But Daddy did it.
And they mutate. Dog Mutant or something?
Daddy, I didn't do it in Apple. I just did it.
All right, say bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.